Donald Trump has been the president now for just a week, and he's already proving that he is a complete disaster. And I say he's a disaster for a number of reasons, and this is because he signed some really harmful executive orders that damage not just the American people in a number of ways, but it also harms the planet. So we'll talk about the most harmful executive orders that I think he signed, but before I get to that, we're going to start this discussion on a more positive note and commend Trump for one good thing that he did do for America. He did kill the TPP. So he signed an executive order that states that the United States is hereby withdrawing from any negotiations of the TPP. Now, this effectively kills the Trans-Pacific Partnership permanently. However, I am skeptical that Donald Trump would revive the TPP, change a couple of provisions, and then say that he reformed it and now it's beneficial to the American worker and then pass it, because he has a history as a businessman of capitalizing on these trade deals that do ship our jobs overseas. So I don't know if I can trust him, but for now, let's all breathe a sigh of relief knowing that the Trans-Pacific Partnership is dead. However, any favor that Donald Trump cultivated in killing the TPP, he immediately destroyed with really devastating executive orders that are just, quite frankly, a disaster. So first of all, he signed an executive order that not only permits the construction of the Keystone XL and Dakota access pipelines, but his order calls for them to be constructed in an expedited manner, presumably because he knows that the public will be against it. So he's trying to push the construction of these pipelines through immediately because he knows that public outrage will be swift and severe. So he's basically given these companies, like the Energy Transfer Partner Company, who's building the Dakota Access Pipeline, he's giving them the right of way, so that way they can build this pipeline on federal lands. So these pipelines threaten the drinking water of millions of residents, somewhere between 17 and 18 million. It also violates the territorial sovereignty of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And these pipes, they break all the time. It's not a matter of if they break, but when they're going to break. Now also, he signed an executive order that freezes federal hiring with the exception of military personnel and critical public safety positions. Now, this hurts one group of people that he actually pledged to protect: veterans, because this actually prohibits the VA from hiring staff members to care for veterans that come back from war who are wounded. So they can no longer hire doctors or nurses, and 1/3 of those employed by the Veterans Administration were veterans. So this actually reduces the job prospects for many veterans. Also, he signed an executive order instructing his administration to start the repeal process of the Affordable Care Act, and, quote, has allowed all agency heads to waive requirements of the Affordable Care Act to the maximum extent permitted by law. This is according to PBS. Additionally, any regulations initiated unilaterally by President Obama that were in the process of being implemented have been frozen until Donald Trump's administration reviews them. So anything good that Obama tried to get through, Trump may stop them. Now, when it comes to the issue of abortion, he's prohibiting federal dollars from going to international organizations that provide abortions or information about abortion. So this is kind of the international gag rule. And this was to be expected because anytime a Republican president takes office, one of the first things that they try to do to appease their base is roll back abortion and try to impose more restrictions on it. So this is not surprising, but that doesn't make it any less problematic. Also, he signed an executive order that moves us one step closer to the border wall. So his executive order directs agencies to begin planning and identify funding for the project, including sending requests to Congress. It also directs agencies to construct or contract out for more detention facilities at or near the Mexican border. This order also directs the hiring of an additional 5,000 Border Patrol agents subject to funding, and it requires all agencies identify any U.S. aid funds that have gone to Mexico in the past 5 years. Additionally, the president has directed agencies to step up deportation of those in the country illegally. First, he prioritizes 7 groups of people for deportation. It is anyone convicted of a crime, charged with a crime, who has committed a chargeable offense, has misrepresented themselves to the government, has abused a welfare program, who is under deportation order, and who may, in the judgment of an immigration officer, otherwise pose a risk to public safety or national security. Second, the order also directs the hiring of 10,000 more immigration and customs enforcement agents, though it states that is subject to funding. Third, it states the U.S. policy is now to allow local law enforcement officers to act as immigration officers whenever possible. Fourth, it orders the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security to block federal grants from so-called sanctuary cities which do not enforce immigration laws. So this indicates to us that even though we often called President Obama the deporter-in-chief, Donald Trump is going to out-deport President Obama. Now, when it comes to deporting people who commit crimes or who violate our welfare system, which the number is very small, we're already doing that. So again, like I said, this is redundant. Now, second, he's taking really Orwellian steps to control the flow of information. So according to The Hill, President Trump has banned employees of the Environmental Protection Agency from giving social media updates and speaking with reporters, according to the Associated Press. The EPA ban comes amid other reports of agency staff being restricted from interacting with the members of the Congress or the general public. And additionally, Business Insider reports that all new grants to the EPA to fund its own science have been frozen. However, it's unknown how long this freeze will last and whether or not it applies to active contracts. Now, finally, he's expected to sign an executive order that delays the resettlement of all refugees from entering the country for 4 months, and he also will be prohibiting Syrian refugees from entering the country, and as far as we know, this will be an indefinite ban on Syrian refugees. And Donald Trump and conservatives love to perpetuate the lie that the U.S. doesn't vet refugees. That's false. The Huffington Post reports refugees recommended by the UN Refugee Agency for resettlement in the United States undergo a stringent 2-year-long vetting process that includes various security and medical clearances as well as cultural orientation. If the U.S. government stops processing or admitting people for even a week, their exit visa expires or their medical expires, they have to go back and start all over. And the process is so synchronized that any stick in the wheel sort of throws it off pretty badly. So when I hear this, I think we're not a compassionate society. Bernie Sanders was right when he said we're not a compassionate society. Not only do we deny our own citizens the right to healthcare, we are no longer subsidizing education like we used to, hence why college tuition prices are skyrocketing. And now, the people who are the most disadvantaged in the world, Syrian refugees, we're telling them they're not allowed to enter our country. We're not a compassionate society. So all of these policies that Donald Trump is trying to implement are incredibly harmful. They're not progressive, they're regressive, and I will be fighting Donald Trump on everything, but the first step to fighting Donald Trump is shining a spotlight on what he's doing and holding him accountable. So we're really going to have to fight like hell to protect any progress we made, and, it sucks.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.